If plants don't miscarry, port congestion in Manila would be dramatically decreased. Transport of goods from the Manila ports to industrial zones and other destinations would tremendously speed up, and metro traffic would be lessened by the decrease in the number of cargo trucks by 2018, when the proposed cargo rail system would be operational. For more insights into this mega venture, we have invited to Motoring Today's Motoring Forum the President and CEO of MRail, Mr. Ferdinand G. Inacay. Good afternoon, Mr. Inacay, and welcome to Motoring Today.
Good afternoon, Butch, and to all the viewers Motoring Today, good afternoon, everyone.
Now, to begin with, Mr. Inacay, kindly give us an idea of MRail as a corporate entity.
Okay, MRail essentially is a 100% subsidiary of Meralco. In the early 1900s, Meralco has been a Manila Electric Railroad and Light Company. Meralco actually ran the first mass transport system in Manila by way of the Tranvia until World War II. So rail really is in Meralco's DNA. Right after the MVP group, in partnership with the Ayalas, won the LRT1 concession, the group decided to put up a rail company. And Meralco, being the company that had the rail DNA, started to house the rail organization.
It has been said that MRail has partnered with the International Container Terminal Services in embarking on a much-needed cargo rail system. Would you briefly describe to our viewers what this cargo rail system that you are working on is all about? To begin with, from what point to what point is it expected to service, and how does it compare to the PNR of old that used to ply the Manila to Bicol route?
Well, let me just put into a proper perspective the partnership between MRail and ICTSI, or International Container Terminal Services. Basically, MRail struck a cooperation agreement with International Container Terminal Services, them being the port operator, and ran this particular service of moving containers via trucks and trains in 1998 to early 2002. Okay, what we have is a commercial agreement in principle to develop the project. Essentially, this is to ensure that we are able to move containers discharged at the Manila International Container Terminal operated by ICTSI to their inland gateway depot in Calamba, Laguna. And basically, what the project does is, today, containers are moved from ICTSI port to Calamba, Laguna via trucks. When we did the study, there are about 6,000 movements per day of containers. What we try to do, because of the current traffic situation today, is revive that cargo transport using the existing PNR tracks. So the point-to-point coverage is Manila Port, MICT, and Calamba, Laguna, where we have about 22 export processing zones of about 200 corporations that are actually involved heavily in import and export. Now, this is different from the Manila to Bicol service, fundamentally because it will just cater to cargoes, not passengers. Although we will be traveling using the existing PNR tracks.
Now, word has it that there are still some items that need to be ironed out before it gets to be all systems go for the project. What are these?
Basically, the items that you talked about is really talking to the various stakeholders, which we should have done in the beginning, like talking to the port people, the port authorities, the shipping lines, the importers and the exporters, as well as the LGUs where the tracks traverse, like the LGU of Manila, LGU of Laguna, the various towns in Laguna. Basically those. But we've done that already. And we're now trying to address basically some of the minor points they raised, e.g. What commercial implications, positive implications this will bring into their areas.
In the past, there were quite a number of much-needed infrastructure projects that got waylaid due to several factors like TROs, right-of-way issues, to mention a few. Are you expecting anything similar this time around?
Well, you see, Butch, this project essentially will not, we don't anticipate any restraining order for this project, particularly because it is in a lease agreement with the PNR. The model is basically like that of a toll road, where, you know, in a toll road environment, the trucks pass through the tollway system and they pay fees for using the road. Okay, it's the same fashion with this one, where our trains will use the PNR trucks and we pay PNR essentially a trackage fee directly for using the trucks of PNR. In terms of the restraining orders that others actually encounter in the other infrastructure project, it relates mostly to the right-of-way obligations, for which this one doesn't have also, because the PNR trucks are already in place.
Now, on the side, Mr. Inacay, do you think the putting up of this cargo rail system can really help alleviate the metro's traffic problem?
Yes, it will to a certain extent, but this is not the cure-all for the traffic situation in Manila, because there's a lot of factors that are already needed to address the traffic. But let me just say that during on a day-to-day basis, you can see traffic build up because there are trucks and huge number of trucks moving around in the city. If you look at Magallanes, for example, you can see huge trucks carrying containers queuing and constricting the already narrow highway system. Rojas Boulevard, for example, if you look at it in the afternoon, right after truck ban, traversing Rojas Boulevard has become extremely challenging because you have to weave through trucks that are lining up the lanes in Rojas Boulevard. In the same fashion, you might say that, but there are no trucks in EDSA. Well, yes, but if you constrict South Luzon Expressway, you constrict Rojas Boulevard, it has a ripple effect on the other major roads in Metro Manila. One road gets constricted, there becomes a great gridlock in the city.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Inacay. Before we end, would you have any final words for our viewers relevant to this project?
Let me just say that we're MRail as an entity and Meralco as a whole is in much support of the government's drive to address the pressing traffic situation in Metro Manila, and that's why we have put forth this project. This has been conceptualized in 2015. It went through the ringer, and we know that this is something that can easily be implemented, and it will certainly help the government in addressing the traffic situation in Manila.
Thank you once again, Mr. Inacay.
Thank you, Butch, and happy motoring.
Mr. Ferdinand Inacay, President and CEO of MRail, part of the group that's putting up together a cargo rail system that's aimed at further hastening the country's economic growth through the speedy transport of goods from the ports to the industrial zones and other destinations. It could also help decongest the metro's traffic. Our guest this week on Motoring Today is Motoring Forum.